Hey, everybody. Welcome to our live webinar with Benny Gill, CEO of Kognitos and CEO of qBotica, Mahesh Vinayagam. My name is Dominic Bartola of qBotica, and I'm here to kick this off. I'm very excited that we have people from all over joining us for our webinar here about really just high-value ROI use cases beyond the bots. Super exciting things happening on the automation and AI front. We have a lot of just really good information. These two individuals have really just made sure that they want to have other people understand what the future of AI is. So I'm just super thrilled, and honestly, there's going to be so much information from this webinar. So really hope everybody pays attention to these two. So I'll go ahead and kick this off to you both. Thank you very much for everybody for coming in, and we look forward to hearing your inputs and questions and anything afterwards.
Thank you, Dominic, and thank you, Ashley. I'm excited to be here and to be joined by Benny, the CEO of Kognitos. Benny, great to have you. So,
thank you, Mahesh.
Could we start with the introduction about ourselves? So, Benny, you're going to go first.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Mahesh, for joining this webinar. I'm Benny Gill, founder and CEO of Kognitos. I've been a software developer all my life, 30 years, writing code. And 5 years ago, I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I don't have to learn yet another programming language and just use English to tell the computer what to do? Alexa was already doing that. Siri was doing that, just understanding English in the kitchen. And the vision I had was maybe one day, even in our businesses, when we are doing back office stuff, you can simply use the language, the lingua franca of business, which is English, to tell the computer what to do. So I started Kognitos with that mission, and so happy to be here today in a world where that is becoming a reality, and joined by great partners like qBotica. Thank you, Mahesh.
Of course. Thank you, Benny. And we are quite excited about the partnership with Kognitos. And just to introduce myself, I am Mahesh Vinayagam, the CEO and founder of qBotica. Similarly, like you, Benny, I think I wanted to simplify how organizations really outsourced work. So they normally outsource work, to humans, but a lot of that work humans do it very robotically, and that's not how it should have been done, right? A lot of those work belong to the machines. So I really wanted to see where it belongs to the machine, it needs to be there, and where the human needs to come in and do the oversight or help the machines, then that's where they better suited. And how do we actually do that? By doing that, by kind of really disrupting the services industry to go as like, we actually back in 2017, 2018 timeframe started doing automation as a service, RPA as a service at the time we called it. But now, if you see, that's actually big news with OpenAI talking about forward deployed engineers embedded within client teams doing consulting, doing services. I'm so glad to see that actually, very large software product companies getting into that mode, because, you can make a great product, you can be a good staffing augmenting company, but then the real outcomes for our clients, the results, is when we actually those two are joined together and done as a service to our clients. To that end, I'm so glad that Kognitos, with your on-demand model and with partners like this, kind of really adopting that and taking that to our customers is kind of what really aligns our vision in terms of helping them get the results, not like buying licenses on the bulk or buying T&M hours on the bulk and paying for PowerPoints. We want them to be paying for results and pay them as the results come in, not like make a big check up front and hoping that things will fall in place. So I'm excited about that, Benny.
So
maybe
Mahesh,
yes, Benny, go ahead.
I had a question. So you've been in this space for decades, I don't know how many, helping enterprises automate stuff with, cutting edge technology, right? what have you seen, like, as a trend over your career? And is AI just like an incremental change, or it's a completely different thing that's happening right now?
I think AI is actually a big pivot, and it's a much needed change for these organizations. Why I say that, I'm just not saying that's because everything is being AI washed and AI is being kind of worshipped all around the world. It's not because of that, but it's because how work is done at these organizations, that's our customers, right? So these large enterprises, work is driven phenomenally, like predominantly through humans, right? So actually, humans really sit there, drive the work, whether it is customer acquisitions, customer services, whether it is writing, marketing copies, or looking at their internal shared services, HR, finance, accounting, so on and
Mm,
so forth. Like, and really, although there are like big systems, large systems existed, those systems, were actually could only do so much. A lot of them actually left the last mile open. So the humans actually came in and kind of made that difference in terms of where the software left off, where their customers or their service needs the, like their outcomes, right? So that outcome fulfillment always was actually left to the humans, how well they do it to an
mm.
extent. Like you
But did
call.
RPA help?
Yeah, RP actually, did help to a large extent, and Shane, I think that's why I jumped into it, because bridging that gap, it helped. But it's kind of gotten to a point where it actually started doing all of those easy things where those SOPs were really executable, like very deterministic SOPs. It did that, but it started to fail when judgment was involved, when there was a lot of unstructured information is required. Still 80% of information across companies are on emails, documents, contracts, and so on and so forth. So I think that actually, when those started hitting big time, RPA started to fail. And I think the AI piece, particularly Chat GPT, you can't actually have any conversations, business conversations, without mentioning Chat GPT. But then when it comes in, it changed the nature of how humans interact with the system, right? No
Mhm.
more like I'm going to go to this particular screen and I'm going to press this icon and then I'm going to select things. No, I'm going to ask a question to this magic box and it's going to give me the answer. I think for that change in the human way of interacting with the machine, I think that actually is a fundamental shift, Benny. And yeah, I hope I answered your question there.
Yeah, what you're saying is also reminding me what I was thinking. Before starting this company, I was like, um, imagine a world where AI becomes as smart as humans. Now, 5 years ago, I thought it'll take 10, 15 years. I didn't know it'll be this quick, but I was imagining
Exactly.
that world. And I'm thinking, if AI is as smart as humans, then how will I interact with AI? Right? To humans, I do not drag and drop. I don't click on a menu to say thank you. I just write thank you. Right?
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
so AI, so all of the interaction, the drag and drop widgetry, the workflow diagrams that we have built to translate what humans think in their head into what machine can follow was questionable in that future that I was imagining. I was thinking, what will be that future? And I couldn't come up with any better answer than it has to be something where you do not know, you cannot distinguish whether you're talking to AI or a machine. It must be the same. So I was
Right.
talking to business leaders and say, how do you run business if machines are not involved? Tell me that. They say, okay, if there are a bunch of people, Binny, what we need is process. So, okay, show
Mm.
me an example of a process. Then they showed me SOPs. Like, this is what I gave to that BPO organization and say, look, this is what 100 people do in my place. Please give me labor arbitrage. So now the same process happens in a third world country somewhere. But how the business controls outcomes is by changing process. And that process was in plain English. And to me, that was the dream. Like, okay, if I can have AI follow that process in plain English, then at that time, truly it can go do what a human does. And at the same time, the business doesn't have to change. I think fundamentally, what we are also seeing today, the capability of AI is going very, very fast, right? I mean, it's exponential. Even every quarter it increases and becomes double. But the adoption is not that exponential. because humans have to change, and humans traditionally have changed slowly, right?
Correct.
And that is where I think people who understand the customer's pain points, their structure, how they operate, right? Folks like yourself, um, they can actually take technology and deliver something that's of value to the end customers.
Exactly. And I think, what you said resonates with me. When I meet with my customers, they say, hey, we have automated, but, it breaks every quarter. And then it's like, when we see the most of the breaks come in when they hit a point where, the deterministic systems and the workflows that fail. But one thing that attracted us to Kognitos, Benny, I must admit that when you call this hallucination-free neurosymbolic AI, could you just unpack it for me and for our listeners? I know I have heard this story, but I would love to get a recap of that.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So let me talk about how humans operate. To understand how AI must function in the future, we must understand how humans operate, because fundamentally, we should not change ourselves. If AI is smart, then why should we
Yeah,
change? AI should change, and it's getting
correct.
there. So imagine you're running a business and you have very smart humans, but every human is smart but thinks differently. So you've hired, say you're a bank, you have hired 50 loan processors. All right. Now, everyone has a different thought process. Some are very strict, some are lax, some are kind, some are not that so kind. Now, the way you run your business is say, here are the rules of my business. These are the processes. These are the checks and balances that you need to do. And you create a process and give it to anybody. You do not do that because you don't trust the intelligence of people. In fact, you do that because they are intelligent and you do not know how they will react to different applications coming in. So you want some standardization, and that is the process. Now, if a human looks at that process but still does whatever they feel like, oh, I like this guy, I like, the name itself, right? We don't call it hallucination. We actually say, no, that is some favoritism or something. It's a fireable offense, right? You're not following business process, you're just randomly giving out a loan. When AI does it, we call it hallucination. Why? Because we think, yeah, there is no real intent behind that. It must be a mistake. So we call it hallucination. As AI is getting smarter and smarter, it will become a fireable offense, just like with humans. Like, why did you do this? You have a, internal motive, an agenda. AI today doesn't have agenda, but that's the only difference. So when I was thinking about this problem, I was thinking how to solve the problem. We solve it just the way humans, we say, look, you are going to follow these 10 steps, and for every step, write down what you did and why you did it in full detail, so that I, as an auditor, when I come and see, I'll be able to see exactly what you did. No more black box stuff for me. So to do that, um, we had to create what we call a neurosymbolic architecture. And I'm going into the technical details. Um, if you let me a little bit. So neurosymbolic means there is a neuro layer which is capable of prediction, capable of coming up with new creative solutions, and therefore capable of doing things that you don't like because it's not truly aligned with you. We can call it hallucination. That's the neuro layer. Then there is a symbolic layer. Symbolic is nothing but programming, like Python, COBOL, Java. All of these are symbolic execution engines. They have never hallucinated because they were never creative. So you layer creative on top of non-creative, right? So I give an example, folks who have watched Star Trek. In Star Trek, there is a character called Spock. Now, Spock is a Vulcan whose brain is logical, fundamentally logical, runs like a computer, but he has a neural layer on top where Spock can communicate with humans and actually interact in their language, but doesn't get emotional. That kind of architecture is what business is looking for. They make the interface human, but not the execution. So we call it human reasoning, but machine reliability. So that's what we put it. Now, the way we did it is you create an AI engine that is split into two parts, neural agent, symbolic agent. but the neural agent's output is not API calls, because the moment you give a neural agent access to your business SAP systems and other things, you don't know what's going to happen. Okay. And that's what people are worried about. So neural agent should be something that will write down a plan in English. This is English as code that is given to a human to review and also given to the symbolic agent to run. Symbolic agent cannot hallucinate and human can review that. So that's how we have sort of built this platform ground up. And
Brilliant, Benny there. I think, the way that you're really addressing the auditability and explainability challenges that the enterprises currently face, right? I think as we start to adopt AI, there's this big, considerations. And I think some of them are actually hesitant even to move off the table, which I think it's now impossible. Like they all have to get on that AI bandwagon. And given that, I think having systems that have these clear auditability and explainability is going to help more address those concerns that, black box AI could do things that we don't know about. I think that's a brilliant architecture, frankly speaking. And I think, let's get real. I know you touched upon it, Vinny, about that financial services use case that we're working on, right? Within the loan processing side of things. And one of the things that we faced there was like, this is a very, I would say like timeless use case for automation, right? Loan processing. I think, since the time that we were eligible to get a loan or a card, like maybe, ages ago, this has been there. There's some amount of automation always existed, but it never actually was like completely done. Even last week, my daughter applied for a loan, and then they had to ask for additional documentation. And this is in this day and age in 2025, and for someone that's been in this country for her entire life, and to kind of ask additional documentation seems to be like a interesting thing for me. So that said, like I think in that use case, we really see that having that neural layer. I know that symbolic layer is something that we have got it down pat over time, but then adding that neural layer really has made the difference for us. So maybe for the we could actually discuss that use case a little bit more. How actually having Kognitos in how it changed the game for us.
Yeah, normally, right? I mean, any decision heavy or document heavy business processes out there have traditionally been just hard for our PA to solve because there are too many steps involved. And if there are too many steps, imagine a system where the accuracy you have is 98% for every step, and there are 50 steps. Guess what? It's going to fail. We keep talking about my bots are failing, bots are failing. What happens is, so then we do only simple things with bots. But if you have a neural layer on top, that layer is adaptive, it's creative, it will actually try to make forward progress. And whenever it is uncertain, plan goes to the symbolic layer. Layer says, I need human to review this. I cannot hallucinate my way through. Reaches out to the human. Human says, oh, in this particular case, I forgot to mention, you should do this. Now the system learns and improves over time. And that creates a chance to do more complex end-to-end processes. These processes have existed for hundreds of years. Loan processing is like, the other thing that's happening today is the process itself keeps on changing because the world keeps on changing. I mean, not in loan processing, but imagine tariffs. Every day there is like changes going on. Businesses have to deal with constant churn in the external world. So the time it takes for translating a process in English into a process that the machine runs cannot be weeks and months. And the only way to solve it is that the machine really reads the English directly and executes it, right? So in the loan processing case that we've been working with you guys on, first of all, the application process starts, right? So this will come in, whether it's coming from various channels. It can come from the web form, or somebody sends an email, or somebody shows up in the branch and they fill in some things. In the branch, they might fill in a paper form, believe it or not. A lot of people will fill in paper forms, so you need to have an OCR. If it's an email, then from the email, now you have to extract the particular things, what are they looking for? that is a great use case for Gen AI today, right? Web format, highly structured, you don't have a problem. So the entire spectrum right in the first step, right? And this is where even RPA will start faltering. I only do web form, I can't do email. So that problem is getting solved, number one. After you do that, they will submit their other documentation. So there's like 50 different pages they'll submit. Those documents have to be again reviewed. Now, at Kognitos, we have worked a lot on document processing, Excel processing, a lot of the SAP and other APIs kind of backend systems. So document processing is now becoming very close to perfect, if not perfect right now. Using vision models plus the traditional OCR capabilities, combining the two, we are able to get to very high accuracy that earlier systems did not. The idea is to take the latest and greatest and move it into in the production in about a month or two, so that you can be at the bleeding edge. Now you extract all the data from there. Then there is cross verification with what the bank already has about the applicant. Now, is it a new applicant? Is it an old applicant trying to do it again? These are different things. And once that cross verification happens, the next stage is about going into the business rules about like what is the credit score and how much money are they asking for, what's their income, what loans do they already have, and so on and so forth, the debt to income ratio calculation. Now these are mathematical, you don't need AI for that step, but doing that diligently, making sure that there are no mistakes and everything is audited, go there. And at that time, there comes a confidence of whether we should just give the loan or not. If the confidence is high, it can proceed into next stages. If it is low, you have to pull in a loan officer. And that pulling in the loan officer at the right time is, what we are helping the system to do. And finally, it will go into signatures and all of that. But it's a long end-to-end complex use case. AI is helping us finally to now stitch together everything, not just for the biggest of the banks, but we could do it even for a branch, because the cost of doing it now, the starting cost is also getting lower.
I think that's a big thing, Benny. I think the cost of adoption of some of these systems have really grown over time, and I think having that bite-sized approach, or even the on-demand piece, is really where we are promising true outcomes and results to our clients matters these days. And I know that similarly, we both worked on a transportation use case where obviously there's a lot of quotes being written out to our clients, and I know for us, we have been running that for years, that particular process. And one fine day, it kind of really broke down because the things changed. There are, like we talk about the brittle bot syndrome. Really, we got that, affected by that syndrome. And I'm so happy that we actually were able to kind of really work together the way that we kind of presented that problem within like nearly 48 hours. You were able to kind of really bring back, hey, this is how it could be resolved. In fact, even lesser than that, I would say, like within 24 hours or so, that you actually given us a solution. We're able to kind of really take that, back. And the way that you address that problem, there's an interesting thing, right? I'm sure like some of our listeners would be kind of really wondering, if it is all business language and if business users are coming in, why would a partner come in and, in this particular mix, right? So for us, like, instead of trying to like master your platform, all we were like able to do is like read, provide the platform, English like instructions, and kind of really understand the explainability and auditability that you talked about, how it computed the various steps and how we went along. It was also easy for my developers kind of really go ahead and present newer problems to it and get the answers faster, instead of like I'm become like a custodian of a complex technology platform, right? That's kind of most people are, if you think about it. And I'm a disruptor in this space. Like I think most of the companies really, they build their moat in kind of really saying, I have these exceptionally certified people all across, and this is why my moat is I'm going to charge you $400 an hour, because I am the only company in the world that was able to keep this particular human in the company, right? That's not why we wanted to kind of really, we exist because we want to deliver that outcomes for our clients, and if that moat becomes many times this becomes actually a abstraction towards completing that result, or the goal that we want from a customer experience standpoint. I think the way that we presented that problem, like we actually send the codes to the to Kognitos, and understood how it's actually solving it, and we were able to make those finer adjustments as it needed from the symbolic layer, right? Obviously you were able to do much of the stuff quickly, but then wherever we needed to kind of really make it much more resilient, because we all know that AI can be great, but then it cannot do the same things again and again, to an extent. That's kind of where these you need clarity, you need consistency in how it's done. I think that resiliency can be built under the tools on top of the AI layer, and I think our teams kind of really went ahead and made sure they fixed anything that's needed from the symbolic layer standpoint, and we implemented that for our solution, for our clients, the transportation client, and
Yeah.
those things are really going on.
Yeah, so for that, so we have a bunch of transportation customers as well. This, if you imagine, right, there's a lot of purchase orders, bill of lading, all those kind of things. And what happens is somebody goes and delivers something, and then there's a physical signature, somebody taking, right, physical signature. And some of our customers, the truck driver will take a cell phone and take a picture. And I've seen cases where the steering wheel is actually obscuring the bill of lading because they just took a picture, didn't look at it, and uploaded it. So there are these edge cases that happen. Sometimes it's blurry. So it goes into the system. Now, the AI layer will look at that and try to extract data. But in our case, if it cannot, it will just raise a flag saying, man, I cannot do that, rather than um, try and guess its way through. A lot of the large language models out there have been incentivized to give an answer that somebody will like. Like, they do not say, sorry, I cannot give you the answer, period. But that is why you need a symbolic layer. Take the AI layer that does the planning and give it to a symbolic layer, like normal symbolic programming, Python, even UiPath and others. If they don't know how to do it, it will simply stop, right? But the problem with bots is it crashes. Instead of crashing, it should pause and then pull in the creative AI and say, you look at me, explain my problem to the human. So that's what we do. And that's the sort of best of both worlds. You get the reliability that you always wanted from machines. So in this particular case, there are emails that are sent with how many pallets or skids I have, and what are the dimensions, and what I'll need to ship, all sorts of details. When the delivery is going to go there, will I need to get the gate opened for me, and all that. All that data has to be extracted properly. If it's not extracted properly, it won't work in real world, right? So that's where training special purpose models was the best thing to do 5 years ago. Now with these general intelligence platforms, you are able to do that whatever you used to do in 2-3 months of effort. Now, as you said, right, within 24 hours, it's we're able to do it. However, I'll give you an analogy. It's like Cognitos is like, a platform where you can cook your recipes, right? So like, we are a kitchen, okay? The best kitchen out there that you can get with all the tools, but you still need a chef who understands what does the customer like, right? So, and that's where I think having subject matter experts on your side who know, like, this is what is actually needed, is so important. In fact, sometimes more important than having the best kitchen in the world, because at the end of the day, it's the chef plus the kitchen that I mean, if the tools are wrong, chef might try. And that's what I feel with the RPA. People have been trying and still delivering great stuff, but it's a pain. But now with AI, we are actually entering a world of hyper automation. Everything that can be
Right.
automated is going to get automated because the C-suites and all the companies know, even in my own companies, like I tell people, if you're not using AI, you're not doing the right thing, because then the cost of a human um, is so much higher than cost of AI, which is actually every year it's going down and down. So we need humans that are leveraging AI to make themselves superhuman, right?
Exactly, exactly. And you're right. I think, AI and everything, and that is, that's getting real. Like, in fact, like I was like, I lost my glasses, and I went to the opticals, and I was just looking, sending my wife the pictures, and she said like, okay, here's the one that you should go for. And I asked like, oh, good, how did you select it? And she's like, I just, I can't do it for you. I actually asked Chat GPT to select it for me. And I was actually, the way it explained why it matches in terms of everything was like amazing. And I think like that's actually, it's real, it's here. And I think, and it would be a shame if people aren't really adopting it as much as faster as they could. But I also understand that they actually had to follow a lot of regulations in the industries that I talked about, like the other customer that we are also working on at the biopharma
Mm.
industry. This is highly regulated, there is so much stuff around it. And I'm really happy to see that you're kind of really not only the auditability and explainability aspects, but also how we are actually ensuring the privacy aspect from a data alienation, kind of really kind of getting the data out, the personal PI data out before we actually bring in the models. Protect our customers data is going to be very critical, because while the adoption is going to be crazy, so is the fact that the risk of wrong things being fed to the AI, or AI being able to accumulate information, which can be detrimental in the future. So maybe we could just talk about a little bit more on the data privacy and the security concerns as well, Bini, particularly for the regulated industries.
Correct. Right. So with the the pharma example that we're working on, I'll talk about it. But in general, whether it is banks or in the hospitals that we are working with, or pharma, there's a obviously HIPAA is there. I mean, simple compliance frameworks are there, which we already have. But in fact, it goes beyond that. With AI, there is always this concern that is AI going to train using my model, my data, and then now after
Right.
getting trained, it's going to give the benefits of my information to my competition. I mean, that's the fundamental source of the problem ever since ChatGPT started. In fact, it's kind of unfortunate for the industries. That's how it started. And then that has left this concern in general. But now it is what it is. A lot of the AI vendors today give assurances that no, we are not going to do that, primarily because they've already learned what they had to learn. Uh, but what we have been providing to our customers is, look, you have your data in your own cloud. You could also run the AI model in your own cloud. Two of our customers actually have their own deployment on NVIDIA's GPUs in-house on-prem. They say like, this is where I want to run it. The reason isn't, in that case, it isn't necessarily privacy. It's actually they save money by running it themselves, because LLM costs at that large scale can be too high, right? If you rent it from a cloud.
Exactly.
So all these use cases, so we have built a platform where you can plug in your own LLM or you can plug in your own cloud, and your data stays in your own cloud, right? So that's the fundamental thing. I believe that's more and more happening as a trend, and it also bleeds into just geopolitics as well, right? Globalization and all of that. So it's something happening with all of humanity that we are sort of shrinking back to who we trust. In fact, I
Yeah.
believe it's it's more on the metaphysical side. It's like AI is creating a layer of distrust in society, and therefore we trust only things we can touch and feel, and therefore um, this is happening all across the board. Now, for a pharma company, it's basically a service desk use case. So now they have a service desk, like millions of things happen there every year. So there's the vendor master data, updates, creation, maintenance of vendor master records, purchase requisitions. And there's so many purchase requisitions. This is like ServiceNow is involved, SAP is involved, Ariba is involved, emailing is involved, contract management is happening, accounts payable is happening. So all of these have service desk, emails come in asking for something, sometimes phones or on Microsoft Teams. Again, multi-channel requests coming in today handled by humans. Okay. And what needs to be done is AI should handle it, but when AI has a confusion, then it reaches out to a human. So the burden on the humans are still needed. Burden should be 10%, right? Because there will always be some angry email or something where maybe you don't want AI to respond. Because it'll make somebody more angry or whatever. Even if the response is correct, if they know that a human didn't do that, it's wrong. So in that kind of dial is what people want. And 80% of these things are, hey, where is my PO? Like what's happening? Or, is my contract, ready? Or simple questions. And 80% you can get to very quickly, and a huge saving that we're able to do together.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this is exactly what customers are wanting right now, right? But no, I'm going to kind of really throw a curveball at you, Benny, right? I've seen like there's always that CIO that's going to, or the CXO, in this case, like CFO or a CPO, right? They'll say like, "Hey, it all sounds promising. It's all where we started, but we have all been burned before."
Yeah.
If we actually take a nascent technology and all that, I think to an extent, like we are trying to allay that fear. That's why we have been very selective in what platforms that we can really use to deliver our automation as a service to our clients, right? So, because we own the results, we own those outcomes to our clients, and we are paid by that from a subscription standpoint every month. We are not a T&M shop. We are not a staffing company. Hey, the hours have been burned. You have to give me the money back, right? But it's not like that, right? So the way qBotica operates is actually through a service perspective. So, but we are doing that more from a commercial construct. But then from a technology construct, what could we do or give more comfort to that CIO that's listening in, saying, I've been burned before. What is that we can actually do different here in this technology?
See, firstly, we have built a platform where it is serverless. Starting up is not a big cost. So we don't have to get into commercial discussions where it needs to be certain size, otherwise ROI won't be there. That's definitely should not be there. So what we tell customers is, pick one thing. If you have to do 100 things, you have to automate it over the next 18 months. Let's pick one, and then let's go through it and see what the experience is. As simple as that. Pick something small, and invariably after that we see that there is this growth. That's number one. Number two, the platform is built around the concept of AI should not be black box, right? It's everything is white box. So you can see what AI is doing. So your process gets recorded in English, and AI, when it runs it, you're seeing every step what it is doing. At the worst, after that, one effort that you put in for one process, at the worst, you'll have a documented process in front of you, which is in
Right.
English. So at least you know how your business works, right? That is one. Obviously, we've been in business with multiple customers, renewing, increasing, and all of that. So we also point to our current customers, like please talk to our current customers, and they'll give you experience, what their experience has been with our platform. Yeah. And finally, it's all about working together, right? I mean, there is no silver bullet, there's no magical solution out there, especially with AI. If somebody tells you that their AI is 100% accurate, they are just simply lying. It's almost like saying,
Exactly.
this human never makes a mistake. No, no, no. If you told me like a computer never makes a mistake, sure, but not AI. AI is supposed to be smart like humans. To err is human, we keep saying, right? To err is also AI. So the thing is about understanding the weaknesses of AI and leveraging it in the right way. And that's where partnerships are important. So you understand the business needs and how the business problems need to be solved, as well as the AI capability, and a platform that allows you to make sure that AI cannot make mistakes. It'll always stop it and bring in a human expert to come and help and take ownership. Just like, Tesla is a self-driving car, they figured it out many years ago. Like when the car gets uncomfortable, it beeps and forces the human to touch the steering wheel. Same thing in business process. If the AI is uncomfortable, it must force the human to come in and take responsibility. That's our mission, rather than just doing something and later blaming people.
It's amazing, right? So how actually, we are actually going from code to consciousness to an extent, because the longest amount of time, automation was about writing code that mimicked behavior, right? A series of steps scripted by engineers, like locked inside our own black box. You are our engineers, because we had those limitations of tools and how approaches and all that. And I think at qBotica, we have spent years, helping enterprises unlock value from that model, and we have seen its limits, the fragility, the opacity, right? The endless maintenance cycles that go with it. And I'm quite excited about this next chapter on our partnership with Kognitos, because that we are no longer just about automating steps, right? So we are actually translating intent, right? The intention of the business. And we are moving away from, I would say, like from code to consciousness, from brittle bots to systems that actually reason, explain, and adapt. And I believe that it's just not a technical leap, right? It is going to be a much more profound than that. And I'm really happy that in our enterprise, we are kind of stepping into that mode. And we have to kind of like, I must say, Benny, let's go do this.
Yeah, absolutely, Mesh. One question is like, when you're talking to your, current customers and also prospective customers, where do you put them in terms of maturity of using AI today?
I think it's a mixed maturity of customers. I think we have a really good set of clients. Some of them are very advanced. They have actually been using technology for the longest amount of time. So we have like a premium, like a top 10 insurer in the world that we work with, who is actually doing some phenomenal work. But then there are, I think, while there are some really world-leading implementations within that client, but there are also spots within that clients where there are things that are actually not that great. So it's interesting that you have the best of breed approaches implemented by a company, but there are also have blind spots where things are actually done in a bad manner. In fact, like I've even seen a high-tech company still processing invoices manually, right? It's just like quite a stark difference. I wouldn't want to even name them because they're one of the world's biggest in the space, and they still do it. And they're like one of the biggest providers of AI technology, right? A lot of them actually use their technology to implement AI in their own. So it's kind of like, I would say it is mixed, and but some of the smaller customers actually have this benefit in that they could not have automated before a lot, because the cost of entering that starting off an automation was quite prohibitive. Even if it was only 300, 400,000, kind of that they could actually done it with two or three people at from India, from Philippines, or somewhere else, that actually the cost was so low for them that they never got onto that, um, the automation journey. And I think, now they can leapfrog everyone, create technologies that does not even solve their own problems, but they could actually productize it and kind of really, solve it for many more of their peers. And I have actually got like a $25 million broker, insurance broker, just sat with us last week. They were like, okay, I want to create a platform that I want to actually let it out to other brokers to use, so that way actually I can pivot myself into a technology company. Think about it, somebody that actually doing manual work and now they're actually pivoting to be a technology company because they see that the cost of entry, the ease of entry, I must say, even more than the cost, it's just the ease of entry is now the right time. It's so simple, so easy. So yeah, I think
What I'm seeing in that space actually, Mahesh, is it's all across the board. Obviously, the smaller companies find it easier to do it.
exactly.
But if you look at what Microsoft has done, right, being such a large company and being able to adapt that rapidly, they are actually the C-suite of all the large companies are being questioned by the board. If Microsoft can do it, why can't you? So like we have a
Exactly.
Fortune 50 company who's actually losing sleep on how we can do it. And it's the tech is available, but what has to be done is we have to restructure the human pyramid there and figure out how the work that humans used to do will now be offloaded to machines where humans are doing a lot more than what they were doing. And also AI is multifaceted. AI doesn't say that I can only do this piece because I have a degree in this only. Now it can do cross-functional things. So a lot of the barriers have to be broken as well. And that
Exactly.
is the challenge that the large companies have, but they're losing sleep. I mean, what we have done is created a training program for people to understand how AI can be leveraged. That's even far more important than just having access to AI. Um, and that is being well received. There's a certification course that we are running. We also are starting an academy as well for that.
Brilliant. I think that's much needed because, see, I think the biggest barrier to implementing is not actually the technological barrier. It's just the human barrier, right? It's just the mindset and the cultural transformation, and this has been the case ever since technology has come in. We have seen this many decades. Every form there's always resistance, and I think, and every time that has been broken, and they have become big fans of that, and they actually went ahead and implemented it. I'm sure that is going to come in, and I'm all excited for the ride, Benny. And
And yeah,
I
that's
think we
why
should wind up this
I'm also
conversation.
excited there. Partnering with
Exactly.
folks who know that, where the future is going and leading our customers together and making sure the customers succeed. And, initial few steps will be hard because these are new things. And that's where working together with people who will not sleep until the customer is happy. And that is what we're looking for.
Brilliant, brilliant. I think, when intent meets intelligence, I'm sure like the execution will become effortless. And that's what we hope to bring in for any company of any size. So,
Cool.
and I think other that I can sign off. Vinny, any last words from you?
No, I think just for folks who are listening in, if there are any questions on whether it's the right time or you have some use cases that need to be discussed between Mahesh and I, we can help you. Even if the answer is no, not today, or the answer is of course, doesn't matter. We are here to help mutually learn. So you can reach out to me at binny@kognitos.com, BINNY@kognitos.com. Mahesh, you can give your email address as well.
Of course, of course. I'm quite active in LinkedIn, and I can respond to messages on LinkedIn pretty easily. But if you want to reach me on email, it's maheshv@qBotica.com.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, everybody, for your time.
Thank you, Vinny. Thank you.
Take care.